हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ब- भक्ति वेदांत। ओके, कैसे करना? नीचे का वो नहीं आ रहा है। नीचे इधर आना चाहिए, पर कल से रीस्टार्ट करो। रीस्टार्ट करो। सेटिंग्स। सेटिंग्स कैसे है? ओके, सेटिंग्स। क्या? 108। हाँ, हैंग हो गया। कंप्यूटर की हाँ, ऑटोमेटिकली रिस्टार्ट हो गया। Wi-Fi. इसमें हॉटस्पॉट करो. Okay. Okay.
Recording in progress.
So audio. Leave computer. Okay. Hare Krishna. Sorry for long delay. So we'll begin without much time. We'll begin the. Yesterday we discussed till the next to shloka. तत्र भागवतान् धर्मान् शिक्षेत् गुर्वात्मदैवतः माययानुवृत्त्यायै तुष्येदात्मात्मदो हरिः.
Accepting the bona fide spiritual master as one's life and soul and worshipable deity, the disciple should learn from him the process of pure devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the soul of all souls, is inclined to give himself to his pure devotees. Therefore, the disciple should learn from the spiritual master to serve the Lord without duplicity and in such a faithful and favorable way that the Supreme Lord, being satisfied, will offer himself to the faithful disciple.
So we are reading the 11th canto, 3rd chapter, 22nd shloka. We share the screen. As I mentioned yesterday also, long purports this shlokas will try to cover some of the points. Tatra bhagavatan dharman sikshet guru atma daivatahe. One who holds the guru very dear and worthy of worship should learn bhakti from the Guru, by which the Lord who gives himself in the deity form is satisfied. Prabhupada's translation is used. There are two ways of translating a shloka. One is literal translation, another is the bhavartha. In one of the Prabhupada memories, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Sarva Bhavana Prabhu, he mentions that. Prabhupada said that I prefer the second way, giving the bhavartha. So, bhavartha is the essence of the shloka, understanding the mood of the shloka and expressing in one's own words. Sometimes certain additional words which are not there in the shloka will come, but the mood of the shloka is not compromised even a little bit. So Prabhupada, many of the Gita translations, Bhagavatam gives the Bhavartha mixed with the literal translation. So that's why Prabhupada's translation is a big translation. Accepting the bona fide spiritual master as one's life and soul, Guru Atma Daivataha and worshipable deity, Shikshet, disciple should take Shiksha from the Guru. So Diksha is just a one-time activity. But Shiksha is a long-term activity. So giving Diksha or taking Diksha, from one point of view, it is an easier thing because just once you have to go and take Diksha. But giving Shiksha or taking Shiksha, it requires a long-term commitment both from the point of view of the Guru as well as the disciple. So this shloka talks about one must take Shiksha from the Guru. Amayaya anuvrityayais. Amayaya means without deceit. Anuvritya by faithful service. So without duplicity and in a faithful and favorable way, one must serve the spiritual master. And being pleased with the service of the spiritual master, the Supreme Lord offers himself to that faithful disciple. So for the word Amayaya Anuvritya, Sridhar Swami says that how when a devotee exhibits the quality of non-duplicitous, faithful service, the Lord gives himself to that particular devotee. Atmatmado Harihi. Atmatmato Harihi. So Bali Maharaj is an example. Bali Maharaj in the Bhagavatam, he performed non-duplicitous service. Straightforward, in a great determination, he performed non-duplicitous surrender to the Lord. Therefore, Vamanadev gave himself to him. Vamanadev bound Bali Maharaj with the Varuna Pasha. But Bali Maharaj bound Vamanadev with the Prema Pasha. Varuna Pasha was only temporary. Varuna's ropes did not last long. But the Prema Pasha with which Bali Maharaj bound Vamanadev, in response to that Prema Pasha, Vamanadev remained as a doorkeeper of Bali Maharaj in Sutaloloka. So Vamanadev gave himself to Bali Maharaj because of Bali Maharaj's non-duplicitous faithful service. So Jiva Goswami says that the real life of a disciple begins after Diksha. So therefore, a disciple must consider the Guru as one's life and soul. Prabhupada also, when he read the Vishwanath Chakravarti's purport to Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Yekeha Kurunandana, one must take the spiritual master's instruction as a life and soul. Prabhupada got great inspiration from that. And so when the Supreme Lord gives himself to a pure devotee, such a devotee becomes immersed in the highest possible ecstasy. There's a Shruti mantra, Ananda Dhimani Bhutani Jayante. It is from the all blissful Supreme, all these creatures have come into being. So then Saraswati Thakur explains that one must see the Guru as being always under the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And do not use the Guru for certain material purpose or one's personal service. One must not use the Guru or the sadhus. Sometimes people, they just want certain blessings for certain material purposes. It is the same principle. One must not use the Guru or Krishna for material purposes. Either it could be Prabhupada talks about professional Bhagavatam reciter, or somebody suppose makes a temple. This is good, but he makes a temple with the purpose that if we make a temple and then nearby there are some flats are there, so flats will get sold, we can make more money. So, okay, from one point of view, at least he is doing Krishna's service. Akama sarva kamova moksha kama mudardi. Can appreciate instead of doing some other service. Krishna's service is building Krishna temple. That way we can appreciate. But from another point of view, one is using Krishna's temple for the sake of increasing his profits. So same principle, one should not use the Guru for one's material purpose. So the first 4 items of sadhana bhakti, Guru Padashraya, Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam, Vishrambena Guru Seva, Sadhu Vartmana Vartmanam. One who has executed these preliminary duties is qualified to relish Srimad Bhagavatam. So these first 4 items are important. They are most crucial. And then it's also emphasized that the importance of hearing from the Guru. When a person hears from the Guru, one becomes free from the desire for sense gratification and mental speculation. And by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one becomes freed from lamentation, illusion, and fear. Yasyam Vaishruyamanayam Krishne Parama Purushe Bhakti Rutpadyate Pumsam Shoka Moha Bhayapaha. And one must hear from the Guru who can expertly engage the propensity for loving Krishna that arises from hearing Bhagavatam. So Bhagavata Dharma is a transcendental authorized engagement, is called Bhagavata Dharma. So further, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that who can take Tridandi Sannyasa? Somebody who has achieved a mature understanding of the transcendental sound vibration, he may adopt the order of Tridandi Sannyasa. So, a bona fide Vaishnava should work earnestly to free himself from any tinge of sense gratification and mental speculation. And with a loving heart, he should carry out the orders of his bona fide Guru. So by always remembering the exalted position of a bona fide Guru, the disciple will achieve the shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. These are some of the points. Shloka. Next shloka. Sarvato manaso sangam Adau sangam cha sadhushu Dayam maitrim prashrayam cha Bhuteshvadhayato chitam.
A sincere disciple should learn to disassociate the mind from everything material and positively cultivate association with his spiritual master and other saintly devotees. He should be merciful to those in an inferior position to him, cultivate friendship with those on an equal level, and meekly serve those in the higher spiritual position. Thus, he should learn to deal properly with all living beings.
Sarvato manaso asangam. Disciple should learn in the beginning detachment of the mind from all things of this world. Adav, in the beginning, while showing mercy to the inferior, dayam, maitrim, friendship to equals, prashrayam, and respect to superiors, bhuteshwadda yato chitam, yata uchitam, that means as suitable. It implies that the inferiors, equals, and the superiors. So this particular, the second part of the instruction, dayam maitrim prashrayam cha bhuteshwadda yatochitam. Like this instruction is, it is so essential. This instruction comes literally in, at least as far I remember, it comes in 5 places in the Bhagavatam. This instruction, mercy to the inferior, friendship with the equals, and worship of the superiors. In 5 places it comes, so you can understand how important this instruction. So one place is this place. Another place is that Gunadikan mudam lipset anukrosha gunadamat maitrim samanad anvichen natape abhibhuyate. Narada Muni tells, if you follow this, then one will not be affected by the miseries from other living entities. And then another place, Kapila Dev's teachings. Mahatam bahumanena dinanam anukampaya maitriya cha atma tulyeshu yamena niyamenava. Same instruction. Third place. Fourth is, this we have seen. Fourth is Swayambhu Manu's instruction to Dhruva Maharaj. Titikshaya karunaya maitriya chakila jantushu samatvena cha sarvatma Bhagavan samprasidati. The Supreme Lord is pleased when a devotee is tolerant of superiors, merciful to inferiors, friendly towards equals, and takes others' happiness and distress as his own. So 4 places it has come. The same instruction has come in 4 places in the Bhagavatam. So here Madhvacharya talks about three types of santas, saintly persons. First category is devatas. Devatas occupy their position because of executing pious activities. In general, they are devotees of Krishna. They could be pure devotees or karma mishra bhaktas. So devatas are saintly people. And then below the devatas are the rishis, the great saintly mystics of the universe, who are able to travel at will to various planets and to cultivate mystic powers, are to be considered somewhat below the demigods. And then the third is the human beings, the earthly human beings who execute Vedic rituals. So they are considered to be less than the rishis. So he is mentioning about the 3 types: devatas, rishis, and the humans. But beyond them is a devotee of the Lord. Beyond them, when he is practicing pure devotional service. And because these 3 persons, devatas, rishis, and the humans, although they are performing pious activities, they are still within the 3 modes of nature. But a devotee is beyond the 3 modes. Mamchayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati ityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So even somebody is a Devata, he is not exempt from outside the three modes. Natad asti prativyam va divi deveshu va punah satvam prakritijair muktam yadebi syat tribir gunaihi. There is nothing in this earth, heaven, among the demigods which is free from the three modes. So this verse says that Sarvato Manaso Asangam Sangam cha Sadhushu. The first part, one should associate with the sadhu and disassociate from the from anything material. Sarvato Manaso Asangam. So in regards to cultivating the association of the sadhus, Shastras especially recommend the association of a Uttamadhikari devotee who has realized the conclusions and is able to convince others. So Rupa Goswami says that Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranatibhishcha bhajantamisham shushrushaya bhajana vigyam ananyamanya nindadi shunya hridamipsita sangalabdya. Although there may be many devotees, but still Shastras one should avoid the association of a materialistic person, even if such a person is outwardly chanting the holy names of Krishna. One can respect Krishneti yasya manasadriyata. Mentally one can respect. But one should avoid intimate association with the materialistic devotees. So because tamodvaram yoshitam sangi sangam, it paves the door for hell. So advanced devotee he may give his association to the common people, but he should not take their association. If an advanced devotee is not able to engage a materialistic person in devotional service, such association is strictly forbidden. So Garuda Puran says that Visheshatat Swottameshu Vinasangam na muchyate Swanicheshu tu deveshu Vinasangam na puryate. Somebody can read the translation of this.
One cannot be liberated without association with a pure devotee of the Lord. And unless one shows mercy to those in an inferior position, one's life will be superficial.
So this verse talks about the absolute necessity of associating with a pure devotee. And another thing is that one should also show mercy to those in inferior position. So this particular shloka especially is taken to this point of showing mercy to the inferior people, that is highlighted here. So here the Prabhupada's disciples are writing that it is our practical experience that those who are expanding the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, they are making rapid spiritual progress. So those who neglect the quality of mercy, they are not filled with the transcendental pleasure as described here by the word puryate. So, and also Mahaprabhu says that the preaching activities are Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. They were increasing ocean of bliss. Devamrit Maharaj in one class he mentioned that the only ecstasy in the material world is the bliss of sharing Krishna consciousness. And further it is said that the preachers become enlivened by associating with the other preachers. This principle is the Maitri, friendship. So sometimes what happens when we are preaching, sometimes preachers they are in all the time in connection with giving their association to others. And then when they disconnect themselves from the equals, then by that also, when they disconnect themselves from the equals, then equals generally give a feedback, they give correction, or they fail to have a friendly relation with the equals, then it will eventually affect their preaching also. As well as Radhanath Maharaj mentioned, he says that once our satisfaction, our personal satisfaction in Krishna consciousness and our ability to convince others is very much based upon the type of loving relationship we develop. So our personal Name Ruchi and our ability to share Krishna consciousness or convince others, Jivedaya, both are dependent on Vaishnava Seva or Vaishnava relationship, friendship with others. So, the reciprocation with Krishna is a very advanced platform. But we can taste it in the relationship with his devotees, else the aspects of Krishna consciousness will become dry and tasteless. So the power to carry out preaching activities as well as the proper guidance for distributing Krishna's message comes through the principle of prashrayam, humble service at the lotus feet of the Guru. So if one is preaching under the guidance of a Guru and in the company of fellow preachers, then one is perfectly fulfilling the statement of this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. So if one neglects the order of the Supreme Lord by engaging in sinful life, he is certainly not merciful. And further, so ignorantly boasting that one is not harming others without an awareness of the settled laws of nature does not make a religious person. So sometimes people say, I don't have to practice spirituality because I'm not harming anybody. So that does not make a religious person. The mental speculations based on our experience of variegated creations are incapable of bringing us to perfect knowledge. One must give up the materialistic association and make company with the pure devotees of the Lord. So further, it's explained that advancement in Krishna consciousness is determined by detachment from sense gratification and ability to distribute Krishna consciousness. So when a person gets the taste of the mercy of the Vaishnavas, one becomes mad after Krishna. So these are some points explained in this purport. So in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says that Srimad Bhagavatartanam Aswado Rasikai Saha Sajatiya Shaye Snigde Sadau Sanga Swato Vare. One should taste the meaning of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of pure devotees, and one should associate with the devotees who are most advanced, who are more advanced than oneself, and who are endowed with a similar type of affection for the Lord. Sajatiya. So relish Bhagavatam in the association of like-minded devotees, with the devotees who are more advanced, and one does some self-study of the Bhagavatam. Next shloka. Shaucham tapastitiksham cha maunam swadhyaya marjavam brahmacharya mahimsa cha samatvam indra samyayoh.
To serve the spiritual master.
Samatvam dvandva samyayoh.
To serve the spiritual master, the disciple should learn cleanliness, austerity, tolerance, silence, study of Vedic knowledge, simplicity, celibacy, non-violence, and equanimity in the face of material dualities such as heat and cold and happiness and distress.
So this shloka talks about various qualities a disciple should adopt. Shaucham, cleanliness, tapa, austerity, titiksha, tolerance, maunam, silence, swadhyayam, Vedic knowledge, arjavam, simplicity, brahmacharyam, ahimsa, and the samatvam, equanimity. So in this shloka also has a long purport. So shaucham refers to internal as well as external purity. Tapasya means be fixed in the sadhana. So so the main heart of tapasya is engaging the senses in the service of the Lord. So it's not that one has to adopt a monastic life or live in the forest as a yogi. One can achieve perfection by dedicating his occupational duties to the Supreme Lord. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur talks about taking shelter of the holy names. Then he will achieve spiritual perfection within the compass of the normal daily duties. So when a person neglects the regulative principles, when a person neglects, say, chanting 60 rounds, so at that time, such a person becomes a victim of the sinful activities. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunte dushpurena nalenacha. So that knowledge is covered by the kama. And then titiksha is being explained. So material world is filled with many embarrassing, irritating situations. So therefore a transcendentalist must be forgiving and tolerant. So mauna means silence. So one can discuss the topics of Krishna, but apart from the topics of Krishna, one can refrain from discussing the other topics. So scriptures always talk about satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavratah. One must constantly glorify Krishna. Therefore, the essence of maunam is not simply mauna vrata. Maunam is engaging the tongue in glorifying Krishna. So yesterday also this question was asked about Shabde Parecha Nishnatam. The bona fide spiritual master is expert in Shabde Pare and the transcendental sound vibration describing the spiritual world. So yesterday Arjuneshwar Prabhu asked this question. What it means to be Shabde Parecha Nishnatam. So this quality is definitely mentioned. Tadvijnanartham sagurum eva abhigachet samitpani shrotriyam brahmanishtam. Shrotriyam means learned in the Shastra. So in the Vaishnava Sampradayas, we may not have the gurus who are learned in the Samanya Shastra. Samanya Shastra means, say, Vyakarana Shastra or Nyaya Shastra. But a guru should be learned in the Bhakti Shastras. That is very important. And the Bhakti Shastra, not only he should be personally learned, and he should be able to present the appropriate Bhakti Shastra to convince the people, to give with the sound logic and with the sound scriptural backing, one must be able to convince. So somebody simply wants to progress by practicing bhakti on a personal level, then he did not actually learn so much of Shastra. If we just following the right guru, the association, then he can also attain perfection. But when it comes to bringing people to Krishna consciousness, one must be learned in the Shastra, one must be expert in the logic which is based on the Shastra. So dry logic is rejected, but the logic which is based on the Shastra, means when you want to understand a particular statement, you have to see the previous statement and also the next statement. And then you arrive at the meaning of the statement. So it's not that the time, place and circumstance. Sometimes sadhus or acharyas, they also operate according to time, place and circumstance. In the Bhagavatam itself, if you see the word Desha Kala Patra, Desha Kala Vibhava, at least I quote stored in some place, at least some maybe 8 to 10 places where the word Desha Kala Patra comes, or being knower of Desha Kala and Patra. Right from the beginning, Bhishma Dev, Tan Sametan Mahabhagan, Desha Kala Vibhagavat, because he is expert in applying dharma according to Desha and Kala. Therefore, he welcomed all those sages just with a sound mind. He didn't have opportunity to give any eatable, or he didn't even have opportunity to tell them to sit at a particular place. But according to Desha Kala Patra, he performed the Atiti Seva. Krishna defeated Jarasandha 17 times, except Jarasandha. Normally, an enemy should not be enemy, fire, and the disease should be completely treated without leaving behind even a single trace. But Krishna did not follow that principle. He left Jarasandha and killed everyone else, because he felt that Jarasandha has great enthusiasm to collect the demoniac soldiers at one particular place. So that way Krishna acted according to Desha, Kala and Patra. Swadhyayam. Swadhyayam means one should study the Vedic literature according to his individual ability and also teach others. So every scripture has a adhikara. Adhikara is mentioned in the beginning of the scripture. The Bhagavata mentions adhikara as Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam. Bhagavad Gita mentions adhikara at the end. Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana. Nacha ashushrushrave vachyam nachamam yobhya suyati. So when it is mentioned that it is mentioned that a Brahmana should have the qualities of a jnana and vijnana, scriptural knowledge and practical realized application of knowledge. Specifically, one should study those books which increase one's desire to serve the Supreme Personality of God. So even among the scriptures, there are various types of scriptures. So especially the devotional scriptures, that should be given a higher priority than the other scriptures. Swadhyaya does not indicate speculative or imaginative interpretations of religious scriptures, nor should one try to read many books to increase his false prestige as a so-called scholar. One should read those books which inspire practical spiritual advancement in knowledge and renunciation, as explained by Sri Prabuddha. Prabuddha is one of the Navayogendras. So another word which is used is Arjavam. Arjavam means simplicity or straightforwardness. And then Brahmacharyam, celibacy. Ahimsam, one should not commit violence to any living entity. Unless one is aware of the subtle laws of karma by which a living being enjoys and suffers, one cannot actually practice ahimsa. Ultimately, the material world is full of violence, and the laws of nature are themselves filled with the violence. And regarding tapasya or dvandva samatvam dvanda samyayoho, the last quality is mentioned in the last paragraph. One must maintain a cool head even during the dualities. Matra sparshas to kaunteya. So this shloka talks about shaucham, tapasya, titiksha, mauna, swadhyaya, arjava, brahmacharyam, ahimsa. So all points are explained briefly. Next shloka. Sarvatratmeshwaranviksham Kaivalyam Maniketanam Vivikta Veera Vasanam Santosham Yena Kenachit.
One should practice meditation by constantly seeing oneself to be an eternal cognizant spirit soul and seeing the Lord to be absolute controller of everything. To increase one's meditation, one should live in a secluded place and give up false attachment to one's home and household paraphernalia. Giving up the decorations of the temporary material body, one should dress himself found in the rejected place. In this way, one should learn to be satisfied in any material situation.
Sarvatra Atmeshwara Anviksham. So one should learn to see the deity present everywhere, Sarvatra, with a concentrated mind, to have no pride in a house. Vivikta Chira Vasanam Santosham Yena Kenachit. The dresses should be simple dresses. He should have he should accept whatever comes on its own accord. Santosham Yena Kenachit. One should learn to see one's deity everywhere and be single-minded in actions. So deity worship, in one sense, it helps when we engage in some aspect of deity worship, to be backup service or pujari service or offering arti or dressing. So gradually, when we go to different, suppose when you go to some place, when you see a nice flower, so immediately, because of engaging in deity worship, the thought comes to our mind, if only I can engage, I can use that flower for making garland for Krishna, or I can use it for offering to Krishna or decorating. So deity worship helps a person to see other objects of this world in relation to the deity. Deity worship, it's not only referring to the dressing the deities or like that. It could be any aspect of deity worship. Maybe even attending the Mangalarti. That's also deity worship. Or cooking for the Lord. Or bringing flowers for the Lord. Any aspect of deity worship. So Aniketatam. In the Bhagavad Gita, does anybody know where this word comes? Aniketa. 12th chapter. What is the full verse? Aniketa Sthiramatir. That word comes. So Aniketa means, literally it means without house. So, but Prabhupada mentions one point that these principles mentioned in this Shastra, previously human culture accommodated those practicing tapasya, or however, the most urgent necessity is for preaching the message of the Gita throughout human society. So in the current time, Kali Yuga, practicing that level of tapasya and all will be difficult, but the most urgent necessity is to propagate Gita and the Bhagavatam. So Vaishnavas may at times adopt ordinary dress to serve the higher principle of distributing Krishna consciousness. In any case, one should learn to be satisfied in many material situations so as to prepare for the moment of death. According to the Bhagavad Gita, at the time of the death, particular consciousness we have created will carry us to the next future destination. This is a short purport. So next verse talks about further qualities of the duties of a disciple. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre Anindam Anyatra Chapihi Manova Karma Dandam Cha Satyam Shamadamavapi.
One should have firm faith that he will achieve all success in life by following those scriptures that describe the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. At the same time, one should avoid blaspheming other scriptures. One should rigidly control his mind, speech, and bodily activities. Always speak the truth and bring the mind and senses under full control.
So this verse talks about the importance of having firm faith that he will achieve all success in life by following the scripture that describe the glories of the Lord. Shraddham Bhagavate Shastre. Have faith in the scriptures which teach Bhagavata Dharma. Anindam Anyatra Chapihi. At the same time, do not criticize the other scriptures. Manova Karma Dandam Cha. With mind, words, and the speech. Satyam Shamadamavapi. One should practice truthfulness and mind control and sense control. Shamadamavapi. So in this shloka, Manova Karma Dandam, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti, he says that one should rigidly abandon all sinful activities. As Srila Prabhupada has repeatedly pointed out, sense control does not mean stopping sensory activities, but but actually engaging the senses in Krishna's service. It does not mean simply stopping the sensory activities. Therefore, it is said that Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasagira nikilasya pyavastasu jivan muktasa uchyate. One who engages his body, mind, and words in the service of Krishna all the time is considered to be a liberated soul while living in this world. And another important point is that only those who are free from vikarma realities can transcend the dualities. Therefore, Prabhupada emphasized about following the 4 regulatory principles. That's the main 4 vikarma which breaks the 4 pillars of dharma. So then only a person can attain freedom from the illusory duality of material nature. And then the next paragraph, Manova Karma Dandam. Manova Karma Dandam, because Vishwanath Chakravarti mentioned that one should abandon all sinful activities. So Prabhupada quotes Yesham Dvantagatam Papam Jananam Punya Karmanam Te Dvandva Moha Nirmukta Bhajante Mam Dridhavrata. So to the extent a person avoids a lifestyle which is connected with sinful activities, to that extent a person can practice bhakti with a determination. For that point is highlighted. And then Shraddham Bhagavatam Shastre Anindam Anyatra Chapihi. Regarding that, it's explained that like we may have a special focus on the Bhakti Shastras, but we may have to understand that all the different Shastras have emanated from the breathing of the Lord. Yasya Nishvasita. Upanishads say that from the breathing of the Lord only emanated Vedas, not only Vedas, but even the Puranas and Ithihasas, they also emanated from the breathing of the Lord. So therefore, in all the scriptures, the ultimate goal is that to worship Vishnu. Vede Ramayane Chaiva Purane Bharate Tata Adav Antaucha Madhyecha Hari Sarvatra Kiyate. So therefore, one cannot criticize any aspect of Vedic literature. One may particularly follow the Bhakti literature, but one must not criticize the other Vedic literatures. It could be Agamas or Tantras, Upanishads or Karma Kanda sections. One must not criticize any aspect of them. So, in regards to, because many of these other aspects of Vedic literatures, they teach what is called as Kala Vidya, different life skills or different things related to this particular world. They are taught there. So, for example, in the first canto, 5th chapter purport, Prabhupada mentions Jugupsitam Dharmakritenu Shasata Swabhavaraktasya Mahan Vyatikrama Yad Vakyato Dharma Iti Tarastito Namanyate Tasya Nivaranam Jana. Vyasadeva used very heavy words. He told Narada Muni that whatever literatures you have written, they are all Jugupsitam. They are worthless because you have glorified the path of karma and path of jnana marga, worship of the different devatas. And because a personality like you, who is respected by everyone, because you have written that, people, because you have written that, because common people will take those words very seriously. Yadu vakyato dharma iti tarastito namanyate tasya nivaranam janaha. Common people will take those words very seriously. So therefore, I feel that whatever effort you have put, it is jugupsitam, he mentions. Jugupsitam is a very strong word actually. So one may use that shloka to blaspheme or criticize the other scriptures. But there, Narada Muni's main purpose in speaking the shloka is not more of a blasphemy of other scriptures, but the main purpose is that Vyasadeva should write on one literature which is exclusively contains the glories of Krishna. That is the main purpose. Sometimes what happens? Sometimes people we tend to not give importance to the main sara, main essence, and then we tend to give more importance to other things. One may tend to use that purport to show that other scriptures are jugupsitam, they are disgusting. One may end up going to that extreme of criticizing it. But instead of going that way, because the same Bhagavatam also says that Shraddham Bhagavatam Shastre Anindam Anyatra Chapihi, one must not criticize the other scriptures. Although they contain Kala Vidya or secondary aspects, life skills, or they may glorify the Devatas, but one must not criticize the other scriptures. They are also given for the gradual elevation of a living entity. In the Bhagavatam 11th canto 29th chapter, it is explained that Shukadeva Goswami, like a honey bee, he extracted the essence of the Vedic wisdom. So when honey bee extracts the essence of the Vedic wisdom, honey bee extracts the essence of a flower, that is a honey, it does not disturb the other inferior parts of the flower. So similarly, that Shukadeva Goswami or Veda Vyasa, they presented the essence of the Vedic wisdom, but without disrupting or without disturbing the elaborate, gradual way of perfection, which is also mentioned in the Vedas. Because they are mentioned in the Vedas, like we need not unnecessarily criticize them. So Shraddha indicates two aspects. The first type of faith is a firm conviction that all the statements of the Vedas are true. So that is a general kind of faith. The second aspect of Shraddha is that one must personally carry out a particular injunction of the Vedic literature in order to achieve his goal of life. The second type of Shraddha. Somebody carries out a particular section in the Vedic literature, not necessary to the transcendence, to earn his livelihood for other purposes. So the first type of faith is actually is towards the Kala Vidyas. That means have faith in all the statements of the Vedic literature, how they are all true. A second type of faith, that is specific, one's personal faith should be directed towards the scriptures which teach Bhakti. So therefore, one must faithfully accept all the Vedic literature as directly or indirectly describing the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should not blaspheme any portion of it. So then he mentions very important section. Suppose if somebody criticizes the Vedic literature, even if the person is in the position of a Brahma, that person will fall from that position. Even if somebody is a Brahma. I think some other paragraph it is. Puranas in Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, Vedangas, Shiksha Shastra, Vyakarana Shastra, 18 Vidyasthanas, 4 Veda, 6 Vedangas, 4 Upangas and 4 Upaveda. 18 Vidyasthanams.
Blasphemy means what exactly? Because like sometimes we also say Vedas are all okay, Traigunya, Vishaya Veda, like this is all. So what exactly here blasphemy refers to?
Veda generally deal with 3 modes of nature. That is not blasphemy. Blasphemy means why do you need to suppose these books are useless or these books what they say is false? And you say like that. Yeah, the other Puranas and lower gunas they talk about demigod worship. They may glorify as if the demigod is the supreme, but you should not say the books are false because the books are written for a particular purpose of gradually elevating. But when you criticize, oh, the books are false, or these are not true, they should be rejected. That kind of blasphemy. Or one real life example. One devotee in one of the Ram Navami, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was trying to read a Ramayana when he was in New Vrindavan. So some other devotee felt, oh, you are reading Ramayana, but it's not written by Prabhupada. How can you read this book? When he grabbed that book, he went to the extent of even burning that book. It's not written by Prabhupada. So that's like this may sound very extreme, but I heard the story. Sometimes what happens that in the name of being loyal to Prabhupada, we may tend to commit some offense. It could be other blaspheming the other books. So we have to be loyal to our Guru Parampara, but the loyalty is centered around Shastra. Guru Laghava means trivializing the Guru, considering the Guru to be ordinary person. That's Guru Laghava. Guru Gaurava Atishaya means respecting the Guru, but excessively respecting the Guru. Excessive respect of the Guru means what? Ultimate extreme is that Guru is itself is God. That is like one. That may be very rare, but to think that a Guru can overrule the Shastra. My Guru is so great, he can overrule the Shastra. But my Guru is great that he doesn't need a Sampradaya. Or he himself can create a new Shastra. To think like that, that is actually excessive respect of the Guru. But what is the balance to this one? Shastrokta Guru Nishta. Respect or worshipping the Acharya centered around Shastra. Yeah, Guru, bona fide Guru will never speak something which is not there in that Shastra. But sometimes, in certain circumstance, secondary aspects of the Shastra, secondary aspects of Siddhanta, that may be spoken in a different way for a particular purpose that we can understand only when we study the situation. So, if say for example, I'll tell you one real story. So, when we offer to the deities, so there are two types of rice: boiled rice, and another is raw rice. Na? We say. क्या कहते हैं? One is boiled rice, which we use for actually generally for idli atta and all. Another type rice is normal rice. So generally in deity worship, when we offer to the deities, one should not use the boiled rice. That should not be used. If you see any traditional temples, not use it. And using it the deity, this one, it's not proper. So there was one devotee in one ISKCON center. ISKCON, one place in South India. There they were using it actually. that place is the headquarters of Sri Vaishnavism, Sri Rangam. So tradition is followed. That's the headquarters of another Vaishnava Sampradaya. So there's a devotee, out of respect, in a very polite way, he told that we may avoid this boiled rice for the deities. And also he told in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, and also it's a common thing in Tamil Nadu that they don't use one particular vegetable that is considered like as good as like onion garlic. I don't know what we call in Hindi. That's long, this one, which we say. Huh? Long. Drumstick. Yeah, correct. Drumstick, correct. A drumstick is not utilized by the Vaishnavas there. If somebody is eating drumstick, they're looked down actually. So it may not be seen in other parts of India, I don't know, but Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, if you know. So we have this center in the headquarters of Sri Sampradaya. So but they were utilizing that boiled rice. So this devotee, politely he told that, because out of respect, because otherwise they will unnecessarily criticize ISKCON, ISKCON names will get spoiled to maintain the tradition. He told politely, but the devotees, they told that, where is it mentioned in Prabhupada's books? Tell me that actually. And then that devotee was portrayed like, another devotee told her, you are trying to introduce Sri Vaishnavism into ISKCON. So you are seen as a deviant actually. So why I'm mentioning is that certain things may not be exactly there in the Prabhupada's books. But when it is based on the Shastra, one should accept it. One should be sensitive to the surrounding. When it is based on the Shastra, one must accept it. So that Prabhupada, he has not come to, he didn't go to West to tell that whether drumstick should be used or not. It's not particularly about that. In some conversation, if somebody had asked that, and where Prabhupada was there, which country he was there, and then he might have sometimes given some answer according to the context. So therefore, we have to always see that when we learn from a guru or acharya, it should be centered around Shastra. Many statements might have been made in a particular context. There will absolutely be no compromise on Sambandha Abhidaya Prayojana. Sambandha Jnana, Jivera Swarupahi Krishnera Nityadas. Abhidaya is the Bhakti, and the Prayojana is the Prema. But there may be certain things the Acharyas might have spoken, something different from the Shastra, based on the circumstance. So, but if our faith is not centered around the Shastra, then suppose in the Shastra it is mentioned in a particular way, and the Guru has mentioned in a different way, then because our faith is not centered around Shastra, our faith is more like a cult follower of the particular person, then what happens? We end up blaspheming that Shastra, or we end up saying that the Shastra is wrong. Rather, and we should also not go to the other extreme that the Acharya is wrong. We have to say the Acharya, he was operating in a particular circumstance, and a particular candidate had a particular this one. Therefore, he spoke like that. We have to defend the Acharya. That is how that is the duty of a disciple. That's the duty of a person coming in the Sampradaya. We have to defend the Acharya. At the same time, we have to defend the Shastra. So, just like the devotee was reading Ramayana, other person, this is not written by Prabhupada, how can you read Ramayana? And then to go to the extent of damaging that Ramayana, that is another extreme. So when the faith is not centered around the Shastra, we can tend to become little fanatic. So therefore, this point is important, that all the Vedic literatures, they have the goal, alodya sarvashastrani vicharyaika punaha Charyaika Puna Punaha Deyo Narayana Sada. When you read all the Shastras repeatedly again and again, you come to the conclusion that Lord Narayana is the ultimate worshipable deity. So all the Shastras, they are written with that particular purpose in mind. But some Shastras, they mainly speak about the Kala Vidyas or certain this worldly things. So although we are not minutely reading those Shastras, we mainly read the Bhakti Shastras. But the other Shastras should not be blasphemed. Shraddam Bhagavatam Shastri Anindam Anyatra Chapihi. So this word is important. We have 12:23. We'll just complete this purport and take the break. So Krishna stated that Vedecha Sarvir Ahameva Vedyo Vedanta Krit Veda Videvacha. The true vision of the Vedas, a person understands the supremacy of the Lord. One understands the unique position of the devotees and one understands the unique position of Bhakti. When a person truly understands the essence of the Vedas, one understands the unique position of the Supreme Lord, unique position of the devotees, and unique position of Bhakti. The Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur says that one cannot develop the godly qualities mentioned in the preceding verses unless one accepts the shelter of the lotus feet of the bona fide Vaishnava spiritual master. So, Archayitva tu Govindam Tadiyan Narchayetu Yaha Nasa Bhagavato Gneya Kevalam Dambika Smritaha. One who performs worship of Lord Govinda but fails to worship his devotees should be understood to be not a devotee of the Lord but simply a victim of false pride. So why this verse is quoted? If you see, every verse is connected to some word in the shloka. Manova karma dandam cha. So it's talking about the taking shelter of the Guru, and that will help us to develop the godly qualities. So one who has accepted the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, it is very easy to execute worship of the Lord himself. Worship of the Lord. For such a surrendered soul, there is no need of artificial penances and austerities. So the essence of austerity, essence of sense control, when a person is abiding by the instructions of the Guru, that is the essence of sense control. Then one doesn't need to separately practice some separate endeavor for tapasya. Aradito yadi haris tapasa tatakim, naradito yadi haris tapasa tatakim. And if a devotee becomes falsely proud of executing severe penances and austerities and meditates on accepting and rejecting material objects, instead of thinking of his service to Krishna, his so-called austerities become an impediment to devotional service. So suppose somebody performs a Nirjal Vrata, but when a person thinks that, oh, I am better than this devotee who is eating prasadam, Radhanath Maharaj mentioned that such a person is feasting on his false ego. He may be fasting, but he is feasting on his false ego. So the austerity should also be centered around Krishna. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Rupa Goswami says that austerity is helpful to some extent somewhat in the beginning of bhakti. But when a person puts endeavor for over cultivation of austerity, then one can become one's heart can become hard. And he also mentions that those people who are mainly focused on austerity, tapasya all the time, such people will not be qualified for relishing madhurya rasa. That also he says. So, a devotee should not be disturbed by the word jugglery of those who are against the devotional service of the Lord. A Vaishnava should practice maunam or silence by ignoring those literatures which are full of false arguments, such as the Mayavada school and those Karma Kanda scriptures which promote sense gratification in the name of religious life. So if one becomes overwhelmed by mundane unhappiness due to not achieving immediate success and self-realization, or if one becomes deluded by sense gratification and tries to take shelter of materialistic men and doctrines, one's devotional progress will immediately be checked. Similarly, if a devotee expresses love for things separate from Krishna or tries to find fault in the process of devotional service in order to justify absorbing himself in sense gratification, his progress in spiritual enlightenment will be seriously disturbed. That is called as Bhayam Dvitiya Abhinivesha. So also, so Manova Karma Dandam cha, in that many points are described, how one should avoid the Prajalpa. So regarding Prajalpa, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj mentioned that how do we know whether we are indulging in Prajalpa or not? When a person indulges in Prajalpa, it sucks away one's enthusiasm to perform devotional service. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Mahabharata, Vidura talks about how the speech should be used. So one place, there's a beautiful shloka. He says that better than speaking nonsense, better to keep silence. And higher than that is to speak the truth. Higher than that is to speak the truth in a pleasing way. Higher than that is to speak about dharma. I mean, to speak the Shastra, even if it is it may be sometimes unpleasing, to speak the Shastra is even higher than that. So, about the 4 levels of speech were mentioned by Vidura. That's a verse in Mahabharata. So Prajalpa is mentioned, and then about celibacy. Sometimes many domestic animals, they are forced to practice celibacy when isolated from one another. So even they practice celibacy. So just because of practicing celibacy, one does not become advanced. So one must submissively hear the message of the Vedic sound vibration, especially as it is summarized in the Gita by the Lord himself. So many Buddhists, Jains, they practice ahimsa very strictly. They very much emphasize about non-violence. And but simply speaking about mundane morality, but without Krishna consciousness, that is also like a violence only. When a so-called moral philosophers spoil the opportunity of human life, the opportunity to revive our eternal relationship with Krishna in the name of ethics, such foolish persons commit the greatest violence against the human society. So domestic animals may restrain the senses, but they are not engaged in hearing and chanting. Such people, they practice celibacy out of force. And if somebody is interested in logic, then use the logic to understand the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichara Karile Chitte Pabe Chamatkara. So So if we see, this is an important point when we this shloka. Vichara karile chitte pabe chamatkara. Sometimes we may find certain devotees, suppose Gaudiya Vaishnavas, drifting or more towards, say, other Vaishnava Sampradaya. So I was discussing with somebody, and then I said, if we understand just this one particular shloka, you don't have to read many books, just one particular shloka. Anarpita charim chirat karunaya avatirna kalau samarpayitam unnata ujjvala rasam harib swabhakti shriyam hari purata sundara kadam jutik kadamba sandeepitai sada hriday kandare swaratva shachinandan. If you just understand this one particular shloka, reflect on it, then one will never leave Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya for a Paramarthika reason. Paramarthika reason means on the platform of the goal of life. Maybe in other Sampradayas, they have offered some higher thing. One may sometimes go to other Sampradaya for certain Vyavaharika, certain, suppose in ISKCON, suppose we don't have Gurukul. Some parents want to give training to the children. But in other Sampradaya, suppose there is a Gurukul is there where they give Sanskriti proper training. That is a different reason actually. But for Paramarthik, suppose in we don't have suppose teachers in certain Samanya Shastra, but some other Vaishnavas, they are teaching, say, Vyakarana or Nyaya Shastra, one man go and learn. But if we are going to other Sampradaya for a Paramarthika reason, that means we have not understood the gravity of the shloka. Same thing, it applies to this also. Vichara karile chitte pabe chamatkara. So, lastly, so the pure devotee is aniketana without a fixed residence. Without a fixed residence means that he has, because his heart is focused on Krishna, his residence is at the lotus feet of Krishna. He has made his residence at the lotus feet of Krishna. So therefore, he doesn't, house means what? House means the place where you take shelter. So Aniketa, he is without a house, without a fixed residence means he does not take shelter of anything other than Krishna's lotus feet. That is the meaning. He accepts neither the grass nor the subtle body as his eternal residence. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that Ainanda Tanujam Kinkaram Patitam Ma Vishame Bhavam Buddhav. Somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me as one of the items in your lotus feet. A Vaishnava should reject the gross sense gratification of living in the forest in the mode of goodness, the city in the mode of passion, or in the gambling house in ignorance. So, forest is in Sattva Guna, city is in passion, and gambling house is in Tamoguna. But the temple of the Lord is in the beyond the three modes. So, Narada Muni, in the initial part, he was somewhat attached to living in the peaceful atmosphere of the forest. Therefore, the Lord told that you are not completely freed from certain impurities. So therefore, you will not be able to see me again in this life. So one of the things which he was referring to was that some attachment to Sattva Guna. So the Lord wanted Narada Muni to be a preacher. So finally, again, the last paragraph, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur talks about who can take sannyas. He says that a pure devotee may travel all over the world, but should never consider any material place to be his actual residence. One who has become mature in this understanding may take the Tridanta Sannyas order of life under the direct shelter of the Lord. The impersonalist cannot understand how the devotee of the Lord, although fixed in the duality of seeing himself as eternally different from the Lord, sees all existence as non-different from the Lord. So he talks about the Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. To understand the Achintya Beda Beda Tattva, one must take shelter of a bona fide Guru. The simultaneous oneness with a difference from his creation. Tasmat Gurum Prapadyeta is important. Without association of the devotees. So Achintya Beda Beda Tattva, if you see, every Sampradaya has a different Advaitavada or Vishishta Advaita, Shuddha Advaita, Dvaita Advaita. Out of all the different understanding, Achintya Beda Beda Tattva is the most simplest philosophy. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Dashamula Tattva, he says that even Advaitavada, there are a lot of mistakes are there. But the other Vaishnava Sampradayas, he says that even those philosophies, some of the statements of the Vedas, they don't agree with some of the aspects of those philosophies. Only Achintya Beda Beda Tattva perfectly fits into all the statements of the Vedas. So we'll take a break now for 15 minutes and then we'll begin. Somebody has a question? Just now I saw the question. 11:30. I will take up the question after the break. When we start after 15 minutes, we'll take up the questions. Without a spiritual master, the living entity is astray who just seems like moving but totally unaware of the direction and goal of the journey. The real purpose of his existence, that is to serve Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for the comment. Anybody has any questions or anybody wants to share anything?
Hare Krishna. I have one question.
Yes.
Can you tell the difference between this Vishishta Advaita and Achintya Bheda Veda exactly? Because both look similar. Ramanujar's Vishishta Advaita.
Vishishtadvaita.
Yeah. It's like,
Vishishtadvaita, I have to, I'll check it and tell you.
okay.
I'm immediately not able to this one, but I have the notes. I can check it and tell you.
Okay, fine.
I'll tell you. Tomorrow I'll tell.
Okay, thank you.
In the beginning, Prabhuji, you quoted conversation between Srila Prabhupada and Sarva Bhavana
Sarva
Prabhupada.
Bhavana Prabhupada.
And you mentioned the mood of Prabhupada, that Prabhupada told that he prefers Bhavartha instead of exact meaning. Then in our case, Prabhuji, what we should do? Because Prabhupada is Acharya, so he may give Bhavartha. But
See, traditionally, books will have Bhavartha and literal meaning, both will be there separately. I will just show you. There are many books. They will have. I can show you some this one, but they will have both Bhavartha and the literal meaning. But or if they are giving only Bhavartha, but they'll mention it as a Bhavartha. The people know that this is a Bhavartha. So Prabhupada is giving in the Western audience actually, writing, translating English, Bhagavatam. So most of the people are not aware of this concepts of Bhavartha. This thing. Prabhupada just he has mentioned as translation and then he wrote it. Translation. For example, Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir, Brahmagnau Brahmana Hutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. 4.24. See how Prabhupada is translated. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. So, what is the exact equivalent word in the shloka? Fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So, like that, many shlokas. So, there are academic scholars. They criticize the Prabhupada's translation of the Bhagavad Gita. But they were looking the translations from a literal point of view. So Prabhupada has translated from a Bhavartha point of view, but he has mentioned as translation. First time something is getting translated in English, maybe something was translated before, but the Bhavartha is given. So they were seeing from a literal point of view, therefore they were trying to find fault. So in our case, if we are giving the Bhavartha, mentioned as Bhavartha. We are giving the literal this one, then we have to see the how every word is matching to this one. You separately both of that are mentioned as Bhavartha literal. So English language, there will not be exact word for, then you have to find another word for Bhavartha instead of translation. English language may have limitation, or you have to explain in few phrases actually. So they have only translation. So Prabhupada used the word translation and gave the Bhavartha.
like when discussion about these Vedas, like, Acharyas don't overrule the Vedic authority, Acharyas. But if certain instances we find that certain things are there, like Sri Prabhupada has done certain things which may not be traditionally allowed or like that, even giving initiation to women, Brahmin Diksha to women, or any other things like this. So how do we say this and like defend or like, or is it also that it is mentioned in some other higher other literatures or what Prabhupada has done? Because
See, when we see Varnashram, Shastras have pramana for Varnashram based on Guna Karma as well as Varnashram based on Janma. For both the pramanas are there. I'll just show you the just few shlokas. Generally, what is the pramana for Varnashram which is based on Guna Karma? Huh? Chaturvanyam maya srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagash. But are you aware that in the Bhagavad Gita itself, Varnashram based on Janma, there are shlokas which emphasize that. In the Bhagavad Gita, Varnashram based on Janma, it is the in the Bhagavad Gita itself there are shlokas. Are you aware of? Yeah, which is the shloka?
Lord saying to Arjuna that you are coming from the good lineage. That's Shloka Prabhuji.
Yeah, but specifically, general this one. Yeah, he's telling you are coming from a good lineage, therefore you should act responsibly. You should act according to the name set by the previous your ancestors. But Varnashram based on Janma, is there emphasis in the Gita? If so, where?
The Prapya Punya, nahi. There's a one shloka where that yogi will come to the two kulas after his sudden not completing the yoga. In the third
Yoga
chapter.
Brashta. Yoga
Yoga
Brashta.
Brashta,
Vijay.
More like Krishna is saying that somebody who has not completed the practice of yoga, he is given an opportunity. To some extent, what you are saying is true, but is given that verse is spoken by Krishna more from the point of view how a person yogi is never lost and he is given an opportunity to continue that path by taking birth in a rich family or in the Brahmin family.
Okay, yes, Prabhuji.
It's not
One more,
mentioned that he will become a Brahmana like that.
that
One more.
Kim Punar Brahmana.
Huh?
Kim Punar Brahmana. Bhaktya Raja Sayas Tatha.
No, that
This
is
one
not
shloka in ninth
emphasizing
chapter.
Varnashram based on birth. That is talking about the importance of taking shelter of Krishna, irrespective of whether you are Shudra or Vaishya or any sinful background. If a person takes shelter of
There is
Krishna,
a
in the highest destination.
in Bhagavad Gita Abhijatasya Bharata 16.1 to 16.3
16.3.
Abhayam Sattva Samsiddhi. So there it's
That is the
mentioned that
valid. How you are saying Abhijadasya Bharata?
because it's mentioned that these qualities are born in the families, means it's from the birth.
16.3.
16.1 to 1 to 3.
16. First three shlokas, Krishna mentions the divine qualities. The third shloka ends with Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya Bharata. One is born with these divine qualities. Abhijatasya, that word. One is born with these divine qualities. So that means this verse emphasizes how one is born with the divine qualities. And when you read Prabhupada's purport, Prabhupada speaks about the Garbhadana Samskara. When the samskaras are performed properly, then the child who takes birth is born with the certain qualities, either Kshatriya or Brahmana or Vaishya, depending on the samskara. So this is a one shloka. Definitely this is a valid shloka, which talks about the importance of the birth for Varnashram. Any other shloka? So I will tell you, there are three more shlokas I think they don't have purport. 18th chapter, 42, 43, 44. Shamodamas tapashaucham shantirarjavamevacha jnana vijnana mastikyam brahmakarma swabhavajam. So where is it giving emphasis to the birth here? Swabhavajam word. What is that swabhavajam word? Born with the swabhava. The swabhavajam is basically a samasa. Swabhava is a purvapada. The uttarapada is jam. Jam comes from the root word jani pradurbhave. That is the dhatu. So that means to take birth.